My name is Majidan Akram. This is my story for Colourful Heritage. Well, we came over from India in partition, and from Jalandhar. We came to Glasgow because my father was already here, and it was 1956. I was 10 years of age. I went to Gorbus Primary for 2 years, and then after that I went to Adelphi Terrace Secondary. At that time my father was doing a door-to-door business. My uncle Noor Muhammed Tanda was here already. They lived in Buriwala. He had a wife and 4 children there, I think, and then he came over and he had a Scottish wife and 2 daughters. He came over in 1916. He had a warehouse. I think it was in Nicholson Street, which they have ladies' clothing, selling ladies' clothing. He was very hardworking. The rest I don't remember too much, because so long ago, since I got married at 19. I went off to Rochdale. That's where my husband lived. And that was the last time I saw them. My mother used to sell clothes in the house. She used to, because my sister was married in Leeds, and from there, one of my sister's in-laws, he used to send material over from ladies' clothing from Leeds, and my mother used to sell it in the house. We lived in Oxford Street, 27 Oxford Street. On top of the mosque. There used to be a Indian club on the ground floor, and then there was a mosque on the top of that, and then there was three houses. Our house above the mosque was 2 bedroom and a kitchen, and we had a toilet inside, but for the baths we used to go to public baths to have a bath. We used to have a toilet inside the house, 2 bedrooms. I remember people used to come and read namaz. My brothers used to go there as well. And then the boys used to play snooker, I think. They played snooker in there as well, Well, my mother and some of the friends used to come to the house and read namaz on a Friday. It was 6 of us, 4 brothers and 2 sisters, and my sister and myself were the eldest ones in the family. We used to do the washing on the kitchen sink and an open fire. We didn't have a heater there, we just have an open fire. And sometimes we used to take a bath in the house with a big tub. And you put water in there and have a bath in there sometimes. My brother was studying to be a doctor, He was in Glasgow University. He was only 18, and the rest of my brothers were younger. And Asghar, he was born here in Glasgow. And then when my father took us to the school, in the first school, we didn't know a word of English or even Urdu. It was only Punjabi we were speaking. And all of the class stood up and they said, "Good morning." And I was just standing there. I didn't know what they said, So gradually we learned English, some English before we moved to secondary school. And then, of course, at that time I was there until I was 15. And there wasn't too many Asians at that time. The only friend I had is that one in the picture, Naseem. Her name was, they lived next door to us. And then she went off in Pakistan, got married in Islamabad. I used to enjoy cooking classes. I was good at science as well. Actually, I liked everything what we used to do there. I was beginning to do well by the time I left school. So I didn't have any more chance to go on for further education or anything like that, We didn't know you can't have any further education. And because my mother was a widow, and we have to leave school and go on to do some job. I left school at 15, and I worked in this factory it was a Jewish factory for making clothing for the children. It was in the lane next to the building where we lived in Oxford, and that was a lane next door. That's where we went and worked. It was children's clothing we used to sew, romper suits and stuff like that. And then, of course, binding I have to cut with the machine, binding to go on the clothes. And we did have to work very, very hard, because my mother needed the money, So although I only earned about £7 a week, my mother had a friend. I think her husband worked in a bread factory, and she used to bring some breads over to my mom, and then some hand-me-down shoes and stuff like that, And I used to tell my mom, "Don't bother, don't get that, I don't want it," And some of the friends used to help my mother with that, But the rest, because we were so young, we didn't really bother very much. What my mother went through, Later on, after both my sister and myself were married off, after a few years, they got a house, a rundown house in Mount Florida, which needed lots of repairs. My mother and my brother, Dr. Aslam, he lives in Canada now. He's a urologist, and they both bought the house and done up, and that's a three-bedroom house, quite big actually, So they live there at the moment. At that time, somebody used to go, with the bride. So I went with my sister, and my husband used to live there, and he was friends with them. And my husband saw me as well, and he told an auntie of mine if they could arrange a marriage with me, So of course that's how we got married. He came over to our house, and my mother told me, she says, "Well, they're coming over to have a look at you, and you just tell me whether you like him or not," And they arranged marriage, and that was that. No big wedding at all. We just had a small party, from girls from the factory where we worked, and we had them. A few ladies came over, and the next day when from Rochelle they came in a 12-seater or something like that. They came very early in the morning, and we went off to Rochelle. We moved to Birmingham. We were there for 4 years, and we were doing market trading in Wales, Newport, Wales. My husband wanted to move to Scotland to get a shop or something like that. And of course, because my husband is not very business-minded, and so I told him, "You better just get a house, because with the family we need a house." And then that was that. That's when we moved. Of course, I needed new curtains and a carpet for the house, so I have to start working, So I worked for only a year and a half to get a few stuff for the house. I mean, most of my life I lived here in Scotland, in England as well. In Pakistan, I was only there for 10 years, so I'm more of a Scottish Muslim, than Pakistani.